everyone. This is Liquidated, episode 3. We're gonna have Wizard of Soho on today, who is one of the most famous traders in the crypto space on CT. He's also has the Weekly Wisdom, which he has a group of people he provides insights to every week and trading advice. We're gonna have him on to talk about his story, his background, trading advice for the future, what he thinks of the markets, and other stuff that he's gone through. He's thrown some events. I think he threw an event in Paris and some other events for his community members. So we'll talk about that and get a better idea of what is Soho and what his thoughts are for the future of crypto and for his brand. Thank you. It's about the same. It's all good. We'll figure it out.
Really? Wow,
Did
okay.
you check out the Kingston when you're at the Bahamar, that the restaurant near Nassau?
What's it called?
The Kingston.
No. Where's that?
So there's a restaurant there next time you go. Like Winston Churchill used to eat there, like Al Capone.
Oh, yeah,
It's got
yeah.
like
I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
Oh, you know what's so funny? Who was telling me about that? Was Jing Tao. Yeah, he was telling me
But
about that.
me and Josh and, like, a bunch of the Weetard guys, we went there, like, years ago, and they have, like, the 2nd biggest underground wine cellar, like, in the world. They have, like, the oldest one of the oldest bottle of wine in the world. It's kinda interesting. Go check it out.
Yeah, yeah. That was the exact pitch I was given by a few people in that circle. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That's probably what they were talking about. It's is that the one that like God, is that the no, that's Dune at Four Seasons. Never mind. I'm thinking something else. But yeah, they told me about that one too, because they said, yeah, the wine cellar is insane. Which is wild, like, in the
Yeah, it's
middle
a
of the
cool spot.
Caribbean.
Like,
Yeah.
Mar of the Rose was really nice there. But thanks for coming on to Liquidated. I'm trying to, interview some of the more influential people in the space, and I know you've done a lot for, like, community with your newsletter, and you've
Yeah,
been streaming and kind of, you're one of the more respected traders out here. So I wanted to have you on and kind of, you know talk to you a bit and maybe get some advice for some traders and some people that are getting into crypto, and also get them a better understanding who you are. And you were on Wall Street before crypto, is that right?
yeah, yeah, I spent, almost 15 years on Wall Street, yeah. So everything from rates trading, macro trading.
And how does that transition to crypto? Has that been pretty easy, or is it a completely different, process as far as
Surprisingly, it's been,
analyzing things?
yeah, surprisingly, it's been really good because, crypto has become so macro oriented, so I feel like it gives, like, such a nice edge, um like most people, I feel like in the crypto world, like the big traders, at least historically, were people who just got lucky with like, buying Bitcoin early or whatever, like hit it on some altcoins or whatever, and then, we're like, oh, I'm some big investor or trader or whatever. But when it comes to like, like they became so specific, like you're like, oh, the only way the market works, it's like in cycles, it only works in, based on where the happening happens and all that. But like, I think the market is now showing that especially after the ETF, that it's become very macro focused. And so I feel like all these people have lost their edge, and like the people who have the real edge now are like people who have like TradFi experience. So like, even like guys like, yeah, like look at all like the successful guys, right? Like the big funds now, like Galaxy Fund, those who got like Deutsche Bank bond traders. Even like in our circle, like you got like Keyword Monkeys or ex TradFi guy. I mean, he still trades a lot of like stocks and stuff. Even like guys like Mando, OSF. They were like Barclays credit traders. So yeah, you're seeing that more and more. At least, even if they don't make a lot of money, at least they can make sure they don't lose money, and they have like consistent staying power, so they're gonna stick around the markets longer. Just due to better risk management skills and stuff that you learn in TradFi.
So you think crypto is trading more like traditional markets then? Is more, it pulls into Wall Street?
Yeah, it was always like maybe initially it wasn't like I would say from 2021. Yeah, it completely, changed and well became more like definitely became more focused on like macro. Um like when the stimulus came in like in 2021, I think that kind of increase this correlation to like stocks and so on. And I think since then, like yeah, it's been like when you had inflation crisis in 2022, you saw that you saw it, and even now, like every time when Powell speaks or any trade war stuff, you see Bitcoin and most of crypto in general just take a hit. So you're just seeing it become more correlated to TradFi markets because TradFi is starting to own a lot of it, right? So when TradFi decides when they're doing their asset allocation, so if TradFi is like, so say like a big institutional fund that bought a lot of, that has a Bitcoin allocation, when they're readjusting their portfolio, when, when they have to decide like, hey, we need to take profits or we need to de-risk, that's how it works. The first thing they'll cut is like the higher risk stuff, which is Bitcoin and stuff. Whereas people have this narrative where it's like, oh, it's digital gold. It should be the last to cut. But that's not how market looks at it right now. So I think that's why it's become more and more macro and TradFi focused. Yeah.
What's kind of your origin story with trading in general? That were you kind of good at video games when you were a kid, or you had it more analytically minded, or where did you kind of have a passion for this, or did you go to
Yeah.
business school, or what?
Yeah. So I actually was an engineer for a while. So I didn't know anything with trading. I never had interest in trading. I didn't even, even past college, undergrad, I never bought a single stock personally. Maybe I bought like something like Coca-Cola or something random like that, but I never bought anything significant like ever. And then when I was like in grad school, I was doing like a PhD in engineering and like physics in Wisconsin. This guy called me. He said read one of my papers and was like, "Oh, like the math you're doing is very similar to like option pricing." And I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think you'd be a good fit in like Wall Street, especially like even given your personality and stuff. I think you'd be a good fit like in the math." And I don't want to work on Wall Street. I don't want to be like, coming up in like school, um, the most like engineering was like, maybe it's not the case anymore, but at least that's what I was kind of taught. It was like engineering is where like all like, the technical people go. And then if you can't make it and stuff, then you go to business major. Obviously it's wrong, but that's kind of like the mentality I was taught, which, like my parents didn't know any better and stuff. Like
Yeah,
my
it was
mom
like
was
engineers and then computer science. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, like, it was like, and then, like, medical, like, or, like, doctors or, like, biology and stuff like that. Like, business majors were, like or, like, psychology, like, all those, like was just, like, people who couldn't get into anything, they go there. Again, I'm not saying that's the case, but that was the mentality, so I didn't know any better, and so I was like, "I don't
I
wanna
mean
do
it
anything
is
that."
true, except they like that they can make money.
Yeah, that's the thing, so I was like, I didn't know, um, they, like, it was like what it was all about, and so and I didn't know they did any math because I was like, all the math people are doing, like, engineering stuff, and so this guy was like, yeah, he was like, "Listen," and he was like, "You're gonna make, like, 10 times more money you'll ever make as an engineer," and I was like, "Wait, what?" Now, I grew up, like, really poor, so I was like, perfect. I'm in this. I mean, yeah, I love doing what I'm doing, but money is a pretty important component, for my family. So, so he convinced me to go to this like get like a master's program. So I left my PhD. I went to go get another master's in New York. And then I went to go work for like I got like yeah like recruited right out of my master's program to go work at a couple banks. So I did like internship and stuff, and then got into Wall Street and had a lot of success there, and yeah, that really was it. I mean, as as I kept growing, learning. So I started off on an inflation desk, and then I started off as a quant. So a lot of like yeah, like just pricing models, stuff like that, math stuff. And then I started getting into trading, and then yeah, it just worked out. But yeah, I had no interest ever in anything trading.
And when you
Definitely not
mentioned, like,
crypto.
Wall Street, you said the guy was kinda, like, interviewing you, like, how much is it, like, how well you are analytically and mathematically, and how much is it, like, I think he said he liked your personality, you have a personality for this. Do they take personality tests or do these
Yeah. So
psychological evaluations or anything?
Yeah, so the guy who first talked to me, he he just kind of judged personality just based on having a couple chats with me.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, he's like most quants or technical proficient people, um, usually have like a language barrier, like say like they're like from PhDs or whatever from China or like even India. I mean, like I'm Indian too, but like because I grew up like in Canada, it kind of I didn't have as much of a language barrier. Even I mean, everybody speaks English, but like I didn't have a strong enough accent and stuff like that. So I think he just found it that I'd have more success like getting up the ladder, especially like with my technical background. Because he's like everybody, they either like most of the people on Wall Street at the time, like or at least historically, are just say like Ivy League guys, right? Like they so it's just like or people when like play sports in Ivy League, so like lacrosse players, soccer players, like guys who couldn't actually make it professionally, but they, were in
Uh-huh.
some fraternity. I mean, that's like standard Wall Street recruitment, right? Like if you're like a Harvard lacrosse player, or like rowing, or like shit like that, or tennis player stuff, you got into like sales and trading program on Wall Street pretty easily. But he was like, listen, he was like, you have a personality like that, but your technical background's better than them because most of those guys were like, like liberal arts majors or like just like, not really like too many. I mean, there's some math majors, but like rarely, right? So I think that's what he was like, with the technical background. But when I was getting recruited, man, the interviews are insane. Like engineering interviews, I went through some. Like I worked for like this oil company called Schlumberger, and like Exxon Mobil, but I also interviewed for Schlumberger, which is like a big oil drilling company, like Schlumberger and Halliburton, and it was intense. It was like like 4-day long interviews on site. You have like 10 interviews, stuff like that. But then I interviewed on Wall Street. Like I interviewed at Goldman. I went through like God, over 3 months, I probably had like 32 interviews, and everything like math interviews, like math quizzes, personality quizzes. I mean, you name it. It was nuts. Like, um, I was like, what the fuck? And so like, yeah, it was pretty intense. I don't know if it's that intense anymore, but like when I was like, so they were talking like 2000, like right after like during and after the crisis. So it was very tough already to get into like any jobs at the time, especially on Wall Street. But yeah, those interviews were intense.
And that's all, like, unpaid? Like, you have to have 32 interviews and, like,
Yeah.
do they compensate you at all? That's insane.
Yeah, and then you get which there were places like I went to like Goldman, it worked out, but I never ended up working there, but it worked out. But like I interviewed this other hedge fund, like a quant hedge fund. Yeah, I went like 25 interviews and I didn't even get the job after. I was like, I spent like so much of my time and didn't even get it. I was like, all right, well, we're learning, I guess.
It's something kinda interesting. I always like to talk to traders about, like, knowing keyboard and some of these other guys. They have these, it's emotionally and psychologically draining at some point. How do you discipline yourself? How have you, over the years, you know, put probably, some conditions in place where you don't blow up or learn your lessons from the times that you've made some mistakes?
Yeah, it just takes time. Like the discipline part's tough. Like my first boss on Wall Street who like taught me basically everything about like macro trading, bond trading. He was like head of Lehman Brothers bond desk. And it was the only desk at Lehman Brothers during the crisis that made money. Like the mortgage desk, everything obviously that's what shut them down. And he said like, yeah, like discipline is gonna be the key to success. As you could be like the greatest, smartest person, just hitting like top-notch trades all the time, but it becomes law of large numbers. Like if you keep doing it, at some point you lose, and if you can't curtail your losses, that's how you end up like losing it all. Like even if you print a lot, but like if you don't know when to stop out or like cut your losses, like it doesn't matter how much money you made, you're gonna lose it all. So I think the discipline is like a very it just really takes time. You need to lose a couple times, and yeah, if you can come back from that, I think experience just builds that. But yeah, I would say the most important thing is discipline with any, especially with trading. Investing is different because you buy and you hold, and like that's it. You're like, all right, until like, it hits a certain number, doesn't matter how much it drops, I'm not gonna get out, and then that's fine too. The buy and hold strategy, obviously in crypto, historically it's worked well. And in Bitcoin it'll keep working well. But look at other coins, it's not like the case. Buy and hold is not being rewarded at all anymore in
Yeah, I mean,
crypto.
the
So
top 10 coins every cycle, they, 8 or 9 of them usually change pretty quickly, and
yeah,
how ETH's reacting right now is,
exactly.
I'm a Bitcoin maxi, as people
Yeah.
know, so, this is me. I've been saying this for years, but, I mean, it's surprising to me that ETH hasn't held up, honestly.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw I forget what the number was. If you bought Bitcoin and ETH in, I think it was like 2022 or something, and or was it, no, maybe it was like 2018 or something like that. I forget, but like if you bought Bitcoin and ETH at the same time, you have like, I think it was like 60% less money now if you had just held Bitcoin, which is, that's insane to me given like Ethereum is like the second or second biggest coin out there.
I think for some time on that chart, it was the opposite,
Yeah,
but I think
of course.
now it's the case. Yeah, because I would get a lot of shit for holding Bitcoin over ETH, last
Yeah,
cycle, but
yeah, of course. Well, yeah. I mean, but that's the thing, right? Like, if you're a trader, then like, yeah, you moved from ETH, you went to Solana, and you crushed it on that. But if you're just like a 5 year, like, say buy and hold guy, yeah, like this Bitcoin is of course the way.
this is my 3rd cycle, and I just what I learned is that, I'm not you or Keyboard or some of these other guys, and Bitcoin seems to be the smartest way for me to get where I wanna go, and so after my 1st cycle, I just stayed there, and I don't pretend to be smarter than I think I am, and,
Yeah,
I can't beat the Coles, I can't beat the insiders, and I even know, I'm really good friends with some of the most, famous influencers in the space, and still they don't really know what to buy half the
yeah.
time, so
No,
it's a
honestly,
tough
being able
business.
to even realize that is like half the game. Because most people don't are like so arrogant in their own, like they're clouded by their own thing. They're like, yeah, I can like do it too. But like being able to like, even say like, listen, I know I can't do that. It's like half the battle because now you're like, okay, because you could keep trying and lose money, or if you accept it and you put in Bitcoin and you're like, "Oh, fuck, I'm actually up a lot," and probably outperform most people anyways. And then boom, you won right there.
And that's what you notice, it's the psychology of it, like, people can be killing it in memes for, 90% of the cycle, and then I notice a lot of people that were worth, honestly, mid 8 figures, even close to 9 figures, they round tripped almost 80,
Yeah.
90% of it, throwing
Oh,
size
yeah.
in the coins to try to make it all back,
Yeah, yeah, I know a
Um,
lot. Even this cycle, I know a lot of people who, yeah, 25, 30 million they made and they round tripped almost everything.
yeah. Have you
Sucks.
utilized, like, performance coaches or, like, any type of therapy to, like, discipline you at all, or is that you just kinda learn your own lessons and kinda go from there?
Yeah, maybe at some point I will. I haven't yet, but I know people who have, and they've had tremendous success from it. Like, Um, I know Keyboard tweeted out like a while back too that he used some life coach and he said it'll really change his trading game for the better. So I don't know. I think at some point, I think if I get to a point where I'm just in like this really bad like lull or like losing streak or something, maybe I'll look to change something. Like, obviously I lose money at times and, there's bad days and good days, but I haven't, fortunately, knock on wood, I haven't not been through a streak where it came like where I was like, oh fuck, like I need to like get some help, mentally. But who knows, never know at some point maybe.
Yeah, I think keyboard uses some guy that like a lot of traders and poker players use
Yeah.
and performance guys. I'm actually probably gonna hire him eventually. He's a couple of my friends are using him right now too. He's expensive as fuck, but
Oh, really? How much are
um,
they usually?
I mean it's not the number's not too crazy, but it's for like 10 sessions is like 35 grand, which I think is a little
Holy
wild, but
shit. That's a lot.
it's a lot.
$35,000? That's a lot.
Yeah, but we've spent $35,000 on dumber shit. So
But see that no, true, true. That's true. And if I spent it at like I'm sure at 11 few times. So it probably would have been
yeah, I
much
mean
better
we've done
spending
this
it
in one
on
night
this guy.
before.
Yeah, it'd probably be much better spending it on.
for a very unhealthy reason.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, but I guess it just depends on like for me, I kind of repeat the same patterns of
Mm.
being undisciplined. I'd be really disciplined for 2 or 3 weeks or a month, and then I kind of fall off. So if I don't know, it'd be good to get another perspectives on some of the things I'm working on
Yeah.
that might be
No, it's
helpful.
it's good. I think even if you're good, it's good to get these kind of things because it, like, fine tunes you. It's like getting a personal trainer, like or, like, even, like, a friend of mine who's, like, a very good golf player, like, basically pro level, and, he's been playing, like, what, like, decade like, probably 20 years now, and even if he gets, like, lessons to, like, work on, like, specific things, and he's, like, very good, right? And even, like, a lot of
Yeah,
the top, like, professional, like, the top, like, top 10 playing people, even they get, like sometimes, they'll have coaches to, like, work on certain things or, like, tighten up. So even if you're at that level and you're, trying to, like, fine tune yourself and make yourself better, there's no reason, we shouldn't be.
yeah. I think it's honestly the basics. Oftentimes, like even the best people in the world, or even on boxing, it's like how to throw a
Yeah.
basic jab or a punch. And then you forget those things because you get so caught up in some of the other more higher level stuff, but really it's back to the
No,
basics on a
yeah,
lot of
no,
things.
that's a great point. Yeah. I mean, you're a boxer. All these boxers, they all have coaches. Right? Like, I mean, they're getting trained by all these, like, even like the best of the best. They have coaches training them. They go through the whole programs. I mean, you know, like look at the Khabib, even like the MMA guys, right? Like, even at champion level, they have people training them to get better. So, even if those guys can accept the help, maybe we should also.
When did you decide to transition kind of on, you've been an engineer, a trader, and then you've kind of taken this other step where you're like kind of an influencer and you start the weekly wisdom. What made you jump into that? Like, I think you kind of started doing it like, in the bear market. Tell me if I'm mistaken, but I think I saw a lot more about the newsletter and stuff back then.
Yeah,
But what was your thought process there?
yeah. So, the like, I've had, like, social media, so I started Instagram, when it had just come out, like, I was probably, like, first maybe 10,000 people on Instagram, so this would be, like, whatever, it was, like, 2011, 2010, or something like that,
It's
um,
crazy. How'd that happen?
yeah, just I don't know, just the app came out and people were like, because I loved photography, and it was just a pure picture app. People take pictures, post it, and so I was like, "Oh, okay, this is cool." So I made an account. I don't even think I had a Twitter account back then. Twitter I started way late, but Instagram I started, and then all I would do is just post things I'm doing around New York. I was like an intern at the time, and I just take like cool photos, or if I go on vacation, I post photos. And then like as like I was working, I was like, oh, I'll just post some stuff I'm doing work wise. So I started posting like my journey on Wall Street, and I just started posting some market stuff, and then just started building up a following on Instagram. And um, and then I was like, oh, it'd be cool. Like, again, like I'm a only child, so and I have, like, a very small, tight circle of friends, like, I don't have, like, a big group, and so I was like, "Oh, it'd be cool, um, get all the people following me in, like, a chat, and we can just kinda, like, talk and stuff, and, like, maybe exchange some ideas, if people have, because people always message me and be like, "Hey, I have this job I'm hiring for, if anybody you know," and I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna post it into, like, it'd be a cool way to do it," and so I just this was, like, to 2014 something, maybe 15. And I just made this random chat. And then from there, like, I only had like 50 people in it. And that just kept evolving over the years through different cycles. And then one of the guys who was in the chat was like, yo, you ever get into crypto? And I was like, oh, I don't know nothing about crypto. And I was like, crypto is all a scam. Like Bitcoin's not
Yeah.
real. You know what I mean? Like all this, like it's not none of this real. I was like, stocks are real, bonds are real. Like that's where it's at. And then, it was like 2019, 2020. My where I was working, they said you can't trade. I was trading stocks too much or like options and stuff. and I got flagged, and they were like, um, "You're trading too much. We can't have this." And I was like, "What the hell? Like, I'm bored. Like, I want to do shit. Like, you know what I mean? For myself too." And they were like, and then somebody told me crypto is exempt. Um, from monitoring at all these funds and like companies. I was like, oh, all right, I'll check out crypto then. So I went in and like I started doing like a bunch of crypto stuff. And then I just fucking hit like it like worked out really well. And then I started building the community. Then I onboarded all those people who are tracked by people in these chats. And I was like, yo, you guys should get into crypto too. And so like 2018, 2019, 2020 through COVID. So I onboarded a lot of people. And then I built out my Twitter and stuff like that. And so all these people who like they're
How are you
working on
onboarding them, like, the exchange?
yeah, like different like so we no, so we initially it was just like Binance Smart Chain, like farms, like food farms, meme coins, like more fun stuff. It wasn't even trading. It was just like APY, like high APY Ponzi's, just like degenerate stuff because we just wanted to gamble. And that like eventually evolved into like trading and stuff. But a lot of guys that I onboarded then, they built like some huge like companies like in crypto now, like a lot of big guys at like Abstract, Movement, Sui. They were all like just guys who were like in this chat with me, and now they're like built out like humongous like infrastructure in crypto. But yeah, and then in 2022 bear market, I started posting more on Twitter about like macro and stuff. And I was like, oh, it'd be good to the people were like, it'd be nice if I could just wake up and just get in my email, like, you want to do something? And I'm like, that sounds like a lot of work. And I did it a few, and it just blew up. Like people started subscribing. And then I built out like a huge team. So a lot of the guys who worked on Wall Street, well, who were in my company already, they were like, dude, like if you want me to write for you, just pay me some money on the side. I write for my hedge fund, I write for my bank research already. I'll just write kind of what I do for them for you. And it'll be some nice spending money for me on the side. And I was like, sure. And so I started charging and like the people who write for my newsletter, including me, I mean, all these guys are like, they work at like hedge funds, like all the stock guys, they're like one of them works at like a huge Australian hedge fund as an analyst, like a equity analyst for them. A couple of guys work in oil and gas companies, like covering them. Bunch of guys are like really good, like technical. Like I'm not a big technical analysis guy, so I just put it all together, and then now it's become like a huge thing. We're like on Beehive, we're like number one newsletter. We're like one of the top two or top three paid newsletters in all of crypto right now. And even in TradFi, we're like top 10 because we have a big stocks and like gold and commodities focus and macro. But yeah, just something I was trying to help the community with, and it just worked out, and now it's blown up.
It seems like a great value add, and you've done a lot for the community members too. You've thrown some parties and stuff, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
why not? Gotta show love back. No influencer kind of does that. I'm like, bro, these are the guys like, when they support you. Like, if you want to put a product out, or but even if you shit like a meme coin, your community is buying it, and a lot of times, it doesn't work out, right? And so I was like, listen, like, it's been a great cycle. People pay for the newsletter. I was like, let's give something back, like, So I host a lot of like free happy hours in New York, LA, and then throwing some big parties in like Paris and stuff. Dubai, so it's nice. It's nice to be able to give back.
And how do you deal with that? Like, like, because some people, get, some people have started groups like this. They've gotten shit because one of the coins doesn't work out or whatever. Like, how does that work? Like in your group, have you gotten any crap for some coins you reached out about, or is it
Yeah,
just like
of course.
they understand that, like, hey, it's hit or miss?
So, our main, I think that's more with like meme coins is what they get the pushback. So we don't focus on meme coins at all. That's the funniest thing. It happens that we have just like a gambling channel called Artist Kitchen where people just gamble meme coins. But I almost like the team or me rarely call any meme coins there. It's the community that just like calls it. And a lot of times I'll buy it or like sometimes if I see something really good, or if I like find out that there's some big players behind some coin, I'll just let the community know. And then, but it's like a very specified that this is a pure gambling channel. and expect to lose it all. Like it's very, but the thing is, people will make money in the other channels, and then be like, all right, let's go gamble a little bit in here with some of the profits. So surprisingly, in my community, I've gotten almost never any pushback. Even when coins have like not worked out, it's more that it's on Twitter sometimes because people will not, if in the community because people are paying, they'll do all the trades because they're like, I'm paying for it. But
Yeah.
on Twitter, it's like pick and choose, right? So if people are not doing all the trades and you just pick and choose, and you're like, you only go for the high risk stuff, your hit rate is going to be lower. But if you're doing all the other stuff like the perps trading, stocks, options, everything, and then you lose on a couple of meme coins, it's like you don't care because you've already printed so much. So I think that's where the big disconnect is and why people sometimes get angry because they're very one dimensional. So
Yeah, I think they're like the staying power in that is like, Trainer Man's been around for a long time. He obviously gets a little bit more shit on Twitter than he would on YouTube, but like, you know, th- keeping your integrity and obviously giving people caveats to this stuff because you look at like the LA vape cabal that didn't last very long. It kind of you make these recommendations and there's inside info there might not be whatever. All of a sudden your brand's done. So it was interesting to see how that all played out. I'm a
but
big
that's
fan
the
of
thing,
Thread to
right?
be honest, but
I think that's because it's because it's meme coins. Meme coins it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy when you're like say for example, yeah, LA Wave Call is a great example, right? Like their wallets became very tracked because they had a big audience. And then they said like, yo, I think this is the daily runner. And then people were like, oh shit, he thinks the daily runner, we're gonna buy it. And then it becomes the daily runner, and you're like, look, I called the daily runner. And then it becomes like, oh, he's got a good hit rate because every time he says it pumps because everyone's going in, volume comes in, and you're like, whoa, this thing just has a lot of volume. This is a daily runner. So you just keep printing like that. And then it just, when the market's doing really good, if you have like these kind of pumps, it just keeps going and you print, right? The question is what happens, like, you know, are you able to replicate this without anybody watching you, right? And that's where the disconnect is because, like, can you only do this with meme coins? Make these calls with Solana, make these calls with Nvidia, make these calls with Bitcoin, with coins that you cannot impact. As an individual, right? And that's where you got to see like, is there skill there? And that's why most like I'd say 99.9% of people, have no alpha because like the purest form of alpha is insider trading. There's nothing that beats insider trading. The second is like you make something like you just get everybody to just jump in with you, and you impact the price. Like if you can impact the price, um, you're not a good trader. Like one of the first things, my boss told me, my like mentor, like back in the day, was that uh, a good trader, nobody should know when he entered the trade, and when he exit the trade. Like a chart should never be able to tell you that. It should be completely like you have no idea that this guy came in and came out and made all this money because you should not like the price should never be impacted. There should be zero market impact based on. Now, obviously, it's tougher for meme coins, but you can. There's a lot of coins that I went in and out of where I had zero price impact. Like I remember, like I like Popcat, I had zero price impact. Even Chill Guy, like that was a big shit of mine. Net, my own price impact was almost zero. Like maybe like people could say like I put a good narrative out there and people followed along. Sure, that's that's fair. They probably had a price impact on that, but a lot of coins, yeah, like Fartcoin, I've been buying, selling in pretty significant size through TWAPs and stuff like that, and I've had almost zero price impact. So I think that's where the real that's when you can be, that's who you follow for real alpha is when you have somebody who can generate returns with zero price impact.
how is this fart coin doing what it's doing?
Dude, honestly, I don't know. It's phenomenal. Obviously, there's some big, I have like the chart like right next to me too, 'cause I've been watching it. But I think it's, huh, I mean, clearly there's some players out there that are, really putting in some volume here. Like I don't know, maybe China is doing some like not like China government or anything, like just like big players out of China. Um, could be market making related. I don't know, but I mean, it does have a really like it's so ridiculous the coin that it's like it's kind of bullish. I don't know. I don't know. There's like I don't even know how to like explain it. And I think that like that's where the value is. It's that like you're like think okay, I'll tell you something. The first joke in history ever was like written on these Sumatran tablets, like these pieces like these stone. They found like carvings on a stone, like you know, like how like the Egyptians and all that shit, like their own language. So they found Sumatran tablets um for like probably hundreds or thousands of years ago. I don't know how long. And that's the first ever recorded joke in history. And it was a fart joke. Like it's so universal. Like when you're a kid, the thing that you know, you go to kids and you like make a fart joke, it's like so like instant. They're like, you know, like they love it. Like everyone loves it, like a good fart joke, you know. But like I don't know, and it's somehow like an AI coin because that's what it was. And AI said like the greatest meme coin ever should be a like a fart meme coin. And like,
Wow,
if you
I
think
didn't
about it,
know
it
that.
makes sense, right? Like
Yeah, it does.
it makes a lot of sense. Like how come that's actually never happened? But it was an AI. Like the first thing of AI when you asked it, is you said like you know, give me the best crypto coin possible, not meme coin, just best crypto, and it said like fart coin. Fart coin should would be the most purest form of currency ever, and it's like as a meme. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I think that's what it is. It's just such an
Yeah, I
easy
had a
shill.
200K lying around a couple weeks ago, and Ricky told me to buy a Farcoin, but I bought NVIDIA, so
Oh, that's tough. Well, a couple of weeks ago, that'd been nice. Yeah,
doing all right on the other one, but whatever.
that's all right. I'll come back too.
Um, so this is your 3rd cycle then?
Um, crypto, it would be
You're like
yeah,
2 and a
yeah.
half
Crypto
because
would
like
be
since
third.
2018?
Yeah, crypto it would be third cycle. Yeah, I'd say more impactful would be second cycle, but yeah, I guess you could say because it's so tough to like break the cycles. Because yeah, I guess you could say the 2017, 2018, but like like the food farm frenzy was kind of a mini cycle, like pre-COVID. Then you have post-COVID cycle, I guess, you know, and then you had the bear market 2022, and then now you could say another cycle. So yeah, yeah, I could say third cycle crypto.
And for those of the watching that haven't been through these cycles, usually each cycle I learn something or I write down some lessons that I don't wanna repeat. Do you have anything that you think would be helpful to some of the listeners out
Yeah,
there?
I mean the when people are euphoric, just buy shit. When you're like, man, like I wanna you know, you're on Zillow or you're on like looking at watches, cars, because like you're just printing stupid money. And then you're like, oh, you know what? I can get more because by keeping it in the market. That's when you just buy shit. You're like, doesn't matter. Like you know, when I was like in January, I was like I bought like a new Urus. I bought like a bunch of like protects and stuff. And people were like, bro, leave it in the market. It's gonna, you know, Trump just launched a coin and shit's just starting now. This is gonna be the glory, the golden bull starting. Um, and I was like, oh, you're making almost money. Like I should buy some shit to like, you know, just flex out. And I did. And all that stuff like that I sold is down 90%.
Yeah.
So, you know, so even though if you're like, oh, I don't want to stable stuff, okay, like I get that, you know, when things are euphoric, it's you know, your mindset is tough to be like just pumping like crazy. I'm just gonna cash out. Um, at least buy some shit is what like you know, like I bought like a couple properties, I bought my Palm Beach place. Um, and then there were some things I didn't buy and I regret it. Like I was gonna buy a place in the Bahamas, and I was like, oh, you know, I put it in Farcoin, and I was like, oh, I just you know I get like another 25. Like this thing was pumping like 50% every day, every day, every day. And I put it, I was like, I just need 25% and I could get a bigger place in the Bahamas. And then boom, down 90%. Right. So I think, but like, you know, net it worked out well because I bought all these other things. So it's like, you know, even if you don't stable out and the market goes down, worst case, you're crying in a Ferrari, rather than being like all that money that I could have bought the Ferrari is now just evaporated. So I just my thing is just
Is
buy
it the
shit.
reverse feeling when you should be buying, like, the crypto? Like, when you think it's, like, all everything's burning to the ground, you should be buying or
Yeah, see, for me, the traditional psychology of crypto market, because like it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is that people are not it's not sophisticated participants. Um, so people buy green candles and sell red candles, right? That worked okay when crypto was just like way more young and everything there was more money in the market to just flow in. Um, Everything pumped. So yeah, you could buy the top and then it kept pumping up. It's not like that anymore. Now, like I said, buy and hold's not being rewarded. So you need to be able to be more tactical where buying green candles is not rewarding anymore, but selling green candles is, and buying red candles is rewarding. So I think that's, probably one of the most important things I've taken out.
and then, you mentioned the cycles. Do you think that we're not gonna have cycles anymore? You think that maybe with Wall Street coming in, things might
It
be
will.
different, or they
It'll
say
just
they
be
say this every cycle, so
yeah, no, I think it's gonna be I mean, I think, since 2020, the traditional crypto cycle has not happened. It's all on the basis of N2 supply, overall liquidity, credit liquidity in the market, like stimulus, stuff like that. The moment liquidity got tightened up by a Fed raising rates, Bitcoin dropped from like 68K to what, 12, 13K. Then it pumped up and then it dumped again because of FTX. But the initial dump over the summer in 2022 was a function of a liquidity crunch from just Fed raising rates, right? And then forcing out all the people who are levered up because leverage got expensive because of higher rates. And then you had guys like CreaC who are max levered up who couldn't, who didn't have access to cheap capital anymore and had to liquidate. So, yeah,
do you look at Bitcoin hash rate at all as it applies to price or
no.
anything, or
I know that. So I know those things are very important. Like, I think that can only affect it negatively, but not positively. So like,
okay.
I think all the other things are so overpowering now, um, that I think all those like pure crypto parameters are not as like the halvening, hash rate. I don't think any of that's impactful. It would only be in a negative way. So if hash rate dropped like crazy. I think the negative will be, but if hash rate went up a lot, I don't think that would positively affect it.
What do you
I could
think
be
about the
wrong, but that's
markets
just
right
my view.
now? Where do you think we're gonna head?
I think we're in chop right now. I think until trade war is sorted out, it's tough because it's like 2018 when Trump was president in that cycle. Like, um, you don't know. He could tweet something and the market just fucking craters, right? So I think it's just such a tough market. Um, I think you just have to wait out, like you just have to get rid of all the headwinds because once that's done, there's not much market impactful Trump can say. Like he can say some stupid shit about Iran and stuff, but I don't think that matters. I think the global economy is way more like if you have like some micro war escalation, I think that's less impactful um on the market long term than something like trade war, and inflation and stuff like that. So right now, I'm playing very defensive. I'm being very tactical. I deploy only when I see big dumps, and then when I see big rip ups, I sell and then wait again. And that's worked out
Are you
really
mostly
well.
sideline then, or
Yeah, I would say I'm 60% deployed. Um, right now, but that I deployed when we had that big dump like 2 weeks ago when we went to like 74K. So I'm sitting on positions from then, but um, I'll probably be looking to unwind a lot of that. So I wouldn't say I'm sidelined right now, but I'm looking to get rid of a lot of those positions. I did get rid of a lot over the last 2 days, but I'm looking to unwind more on green candles. Unless we get trade wars all sorted with China, then yeah, then I'll just deploy then I'm comfortable deploying more.
A lot of people seem to think the end of the year we're gonna, be back up again. Do you think that's the case, or it just depends
I think
on
that's
trade
just a
wars and things of that
function of
nature?
what people are saying, because they think trade war will be done by end of the year, which is definitely possible.
Where do you trade? Do you trade on Hyperliquid or
Yeah, Hyperliquid. They should do a lot of DYDX. I also do spot on like Coinbase or Kraken. Um, like spot or like just you know any like spot exchange. But I use Kraken just because if I have spot trades on across coins, it's I can just do it on there. Otherwise, yeah, when I'm doing just leverage trading, it's all Hyperliquid usually. Or sometimes,
what do you think
I
about
use
that? What do you think about that coin? Do you think it's a decent coin, or do you think it's still
yeah,
overvalued? Or
I think they've gone. I mean, it's growing pains. They've had a lot of issues, but they're also trying to do things different and new. And there's a learning curve with that. And the market will tell you based on price. But I think hype's, it should outperform on the upside for sure.
yeah, I definitely have a position, but we'll see how
Yeah,
how
it's
how
been
it
tough.
performs. Seems like
It's
it's
been
coming back a bit.
yeah, it's been okay last little bit, but it's been a tough position to hold over the last 3 months though.
You mentioned you kind of grew up poor, like obviously, I think most people have some adversity growing up or some benefits growing up. Like, how did that shape you as like who you are today, or as a trader? Has that made a
Honestly,
difference, or is there any advice you get from that?
yeah, if initially it made me more hungry, so I took more risks. First I didn't, and then I was like, "Man, I've had nothing. I'll go back to having nothing. It's okay." And so I took more risk. But now it's made me that I don't want to go back to that. So it's made me more risk averse, which I don't know if it's probably a good thing. Like I become more of a profit maxi now because I've seen how bad things can be, and I don't want to go back to that. Um, which is good and bad because like if you there were times if I was less profit maxi, I'd be up like millions, millions more than I'm now. But then at the same time, who knows? It could have gone down and I got protected myself. But um, I think I don't know, it just makes you appreciate everything more as well. Like it's less like a lot of times people will think like the stuff I have, I'm buying it as a flex. I think it's more that these were the things I would see in magazines and TV, and it just feels like self accomplishment to like have them. Like, I doubt I'm gonna keep a lot of these things long term. Like, even all the watches and
Yeah,
stuff, like, probably a few years, and we're like, all right, I'm gonna just sell it and, put it in
I
like,
kind of did the same thing. Like, I came from a place where I didn't have a lot of money, and I struggled, and then I would have the same conversation with people. People would say, how can you do all these crazy fucking things you're doing and make money?" And I would say, "Well, I was broke before I got here. What's the difference?"
yeah,
You know?
exactly, yeah.
But I think it also might be an age thing. Like, the older I get now, I'm becoming more risk averse and kind of trying to slow down my
Of
lifestyle a bit.
course.
And yeah, like I buy all these watches or whatever, the car material things, and then it's kind of like the trophy, exactly what you just said. But then when you have them, you're like, okay, it's not that cool. Yeah, just get rid of them at some point. It's kind of how I
Yeah.
feel. I think the older you get, the less shit you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely getting like that, like, getting more like, I think like, yeah, getting more simplistic. There's a lot of stuff, like, I barely even like, there's cars of mine that I haven't touched in, like, months, and I'm like, "The fuck's the point of that?" Like, I need to get rid of these things.
Yeah, I got a Lincoln Town Car I haven't driven for 10 months. I have
There you
18
go.
watches I haven't
Yeah, yeah,
I don't even wear them
exactly.
because if I wear a watch in LA, they're gonna steal it from me.
Yeah, that well, yeah, that's for sure, yeah. No,
So I
yeah.
don't know, it's funny, man. What I kinda wanna talk about some things that don't really get talked about too much in crypto, like, how do you separate your life from work, life from crypto? Like,
Oh,
I mean, it's
that's
almost a
tough.
good thing sometimes because we get to live a lot better lives, I think, than most people that work a 9 to
Yeah.
5 or stress about other things, but, you know, do you have any advice about how people should, be disciplined to survive in crypto, whether there be a long-term player or a trader?
Yeah, it's tough to separate. I mean, I really in like I think it really depends. Like, I enjoy looking at markets. Like I I could watch like this. I probably spend like 10 to 15 hours a day just looking at charts, not even trading, like just keeping up with the market, just because I enjoy it. It's like so fun. Like I get, it's like you have the people who play like sports and stuff, and they love playing it because they just enjoy the game, right? It's not even for them. It's not even about the money. Like they've already made money, and it's not even about that. It's like this is just something they love doing. I think that's kind of how it is for me. So like I don't really have a big separation of um like work to like family balance. Like it's not something that's ever like bothered anybody around me, or like I've never seen it affect family in any way, like where I was spending less time with my parents or anything. Um, so it's yeah, I think that's a little tough because like I think it's just always been like kind of comfortable, so I've never really had to go through that. Maybe when I worked on Wall Street, yeah, that was like challenging at times, especially you know, um, whatever girl I was dating at the time, because you have to spend so many hours like with clients at bars, going to like the entertaining stuff. Plus, here in New York, I think that probably took a toll and was tough. But now it's like no, like I think I don't think it's been an issue at all.
And what about AI? Are you using AI at all for your newsletter or for trading? Do you think that human beings
No,
are going to be
not
trading in a few years, or
yeah, not yet. But I want to. I want to start at least for trading, like maybe like for some quick market analysis and stuff, like because I know a lot of people in my community do, like they even do like they have AI go through my newsletter and like make bullet points and like so we actually what we were doing, what we do in Weekly Wisdom is we send podcast recaps, AI podcast recaps of what's been happening in the chat. Because it's sometimes tough for everybody to be in the chat for too long. And so that's been something that we've been using, and it's pretty cool. It's literally like two people like this having a conversation, but they basically explaining what's happening in the chat, but it's AI. It's pretty insane.
yeah? Yeah, I hired an AI agent for my law firm, and I think it will make my law firm like 300% more efficient. And it took like, I don't know, a week and a half to create an AI agent,
That's
and they're like
insane.
training my staff right now. It's really incredible. I mean, hopefully, I'll have you on again in the future. But like, Palmer makes these AI agents. I think you might be interested in. So I think you have a good conversation with him about that at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Who, Palmer?
Palmer, I don't know
Oh,
if you met
Palmer
him
makes
before, but
AI agent. I didn't know that. Oh, I mean, he loves all his AI shit. That's true.
Palmer's very very sharp. Yeah.
Yeah, he is sharp. Yeah, he's a great guy. I love that guy.
Yeah, but, I really appreciate you having on,
No problem,
w
man. Thank you
Wiz.
for having me. I
I'd love
appreciate you.
I'd love to do it again, but,
Yes, sir.
yeah, it was a real good conversation, and, come to LA, come see me.
Yes, I will. Yeah, I gotta make a point. Probably this fall. Now let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. I'll
All right,
host, man.
man.
I had
See
a
you,
good
brother.
had a good had a good chat with you, brother. Good to see
You
ya.
too, man. Have a good one.